The History of Psychology, The Life of Bluma Zeigarnik. Bluma Zeigarnik was born Bluma Gerstein. She was a Russian psychologist born in southern Lithuania in 1901. She spoke both Yiddish and Russian, and since Lithuania was a part of Russian rule, Zeigarnik would still be considered a Russian citizen. She grew up in a well-educated Jewish community and struggled with meningitis as a child. This often made her stay home from school, which is about 7 years of her elementary education. However, this did not stop her from studying on her own in the library. Despite her struggle, she graduated from the girls' high school in 1918 and received a gold medal for her academic achievement. She even partook in the boys' graduate gymnasium exam, which is like the American high school. And though she received high marks like the rest of the boys, she was encouraged to begin intense study in logic to enter the university, to be sure that she completely understood the topic. During this time, she met her husband, Albert Zeigarnik, whom she married in 1919, and she actually met him at the library while studying, which she loved to do so much. In 1922, Zeigarnik enrolled in the Department of Philosophy at the University of Berlin in Germany. She became the first Russian woman to receive a university education. And in doing so, she joined psychologist Kurt Lewin, a pioneer in applied psychology. Those are both him in the bottom pictures, as well as him dancing with Zeigarnik. And I just love this photo because I feel like it's so charming and it gives them both a lot of personality and really gives color and life to the story behind this woman. Under Lewin, Zeigarnik worked towards her doctorate degree by writing about the world-renowned Zeigarnik effect in her paper, Remembering Completed and Uncompleted Tasks, which was published in Max Wertheimer's journal, Psychological Research, which explains that adults are more inclined to remember interrupted tasks around 90% better than completed tasks. Zeigarnik got this initial idea from a waitress who worked at the cafe across the university who remembered orders until she got the check, which makes sense because this would be considered an interrupted task because the waitress did not receive her payment yet. So she would remember everyone's order at the table, and until it was complete and received her payment, most likely afterwards, this waitress would have a more difficult time remembering what the customers had asked of her. In her later years, following Zeigarnik's interrupted task study, Bluma graduated with her doctorate in 1929. At that time, the German degree of Doctor of Philosophy, which she had been granted in Berlin, was not valid in the Soviet Union, so she could not accept this. However, Zeigarnik decided to remain at the University of Berlin to teach as a part-time science professor until 1931. The Zeigarniks moved to Moscow, Russia, where Bluma started her career at the All-Union Institute of Experimental Medicine. Bluma remained acquainted with Lewin during her years in Russia, and even introduced her new Russian psychological professors to Lewin. And I believe that is them, that older photo right in front, both Zeigarnik and Lewin. And when I found this photo, it was in Russian, and when I translated it, it only said that Zeigarnik was in the photo and didn't identify who the man was. But looking at his facial features, it does look a lot like Lewin, so I would presume that that is him. It's quite possible. In 1935, she was awarded the academic degree of Candidate of Biological Sciences. Struggles and accomplishments. In 1940, her husband was arrested due to suspicion of being a Nazi spy for Germany. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison with no right of communication with his family, and Bluma was left alone with her 2 children. I was reading the grandson's memoir of Bluma Zeigarnik, and considering that his grandfather was Jewish, it seemed unlikely that this would be the case, that he would be a Nazi spy for Germany. But in some cases, there are people who are traitors, but it's suspected that this may not be the case for Albert Zeigarnik. The Soviets were suspicious because Albert went to Berlin for his education, and his dissertation, his papers were all in German, which alerted the Soviet Union. And they even destroyed the archives, so it's difficult to conclude whether or not he was a spy or not, unfortunately. However, Bluma avoided discussions about relatives who lived abroad, and she did not want to talk about westernized psychological principles that most likely came from Germany, and she did not want to discuss her early life in Berlin, even though that's where she got her academic start. 1 year later, Zeigarnik started working with Lev Vygotsky as a senior research scientist recovering somatic and psychological activity for soldiers who received head injuries from the war. So it's good she was able to recover from that so far, losing her husband and being a single mother of 2. During World War II, Zeigarnik started gathering medical data for her dissertation, and it neared completion, but Bluma realized that all of her work had been stolen by an associate, and having no patent on her work, Bluma burned her drafts for fear she would be accused of plagiarism had her work been published. In 1943, Bluma continued working at the Institute of Psychiatry as the head of a laboratory. However, some years later, Russia began anti-Semitic campaigns such as the affair of the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee, the Doctors' Affair, along with others. Due to this prejudice, Bluma was fired from her job at the Institute of Psychiatry in 1953. It wasn't until 1957 that Zeigarnik was rehired and became head of the psychopathological laboratory, where she remained for another decade. In 1978, Bluma was awarded the first-degree Lomonosov Prize for various attributions dedicated to the psychological manifestations of the correction and rehabilitation of the mentally ill, and as well as various mental disorders. Bluma was awarded the Lewin Memorial Award in 1983, but could not be accepted without permission from the Communist Party. The committee stated that Kurt Lewin was a threat to the Soviet Union due to his dubious personality. Though it was a great privilege to be acknowledged as the winner of such a prize, Bluma was encouraged not to accept the award. In conclusion, though Bluma Zeigarnik's life was full of hardships, she fought past the struggles and established a name for herself in the world of psychology. According to her grandson, Zeigarnik was most known for her joy and kindness. She treated others with respect and enjoyed serving them. Bluma became the first Russian woman to receive a university degree and published the findings of her study, Remembering Completed and Uncompleted Tasks, which explained the famous Zeigarnik effect. Bluma acquired the credentials for a doctorate in philosophy, was awarded the degree of Candidate of Biological Sciences, the first-degree Lomonosov Prize, as well as the honor of being nominated for the Lewin Memorial Award. From the years Bluma entered the field of psychology, she paved the way for future psychologists to study the workings of memory in the brain. Her story will continue to inspire others to accomplish their goals, no matter the obstacles that lie in their paths.